Sadly, one whoop is actually worse than none at all. It highlights the lack of whooping elsewhere in the room. They had a choice to join in and they thought it would be totally inappropriate and I wouldn't mean it, so I will abstain. Good evening, Cabinet. Thank you for such a warm welcome. It could have been warmer. And let me tell you specifically how, because I recently became a puppy owner for the first time in my life, and I had to leave my puppy for a couple of weeks. I was very concerned that when I got home she wouldn't recognise me, and I was even more concerned about how I might handle it if that happened. So I got back to my apartment, I put my key in the door and my heart was pounding. I was thinking, don't do this to me, little dog. Do not hurt me in a way you do not understand you have the capacity to. I opened the door, she saw me, ran straight towards me, wagging her tail, sat down in front of me and just wet herself. And it suddenly hit me, no one has ever been happier to see me than that dog was in that moment. Once, City Winery, just once, I would like to walk onto a stage and have an audience collectively urinate all over each other. At least that way I know that you meant it. Now, too late! I am so fucking glad that this election is over. I cannot really get across to you with words more a guttural sound of how it's not mattering to me who won about July, and it was just whether we could get to the end without killing ourselves or each other. Because this election ended the way that every US election ends and will end until the rest of time, and that is with just under 50% of America absolutely devastated. That's it. Whichever side wins, that is the one thing you can guarantee. From now on, democracy is like a tambourine. Not everyone can be trusted with it. And that has been proven by the fact that Texas has thrown a 10-gallon shit fit over the results of the last election. And they've done this, they've applied, I don't know if you saw, to secede from the Union. The White House has this website where if you get enough signatures for a petition, you're guaranteed a response, which is of course a terrible idea due to human nature. And so Texas have applied to go, and your response to that of kind of indifference is exactly how they assume you would respond in a location exactly like this, which is chomping on cheese, sipping on wine. You are the embodiment of the elitists that they hate. Now, the response then shows that their guttural instinct is correct. Let them go. We shan't miss them. That pairs beautifully with the brie. But not to worry, because a separate petition has now been filed by the city of Austin, who have applied to secede from the state of Texas. It's a democracy vote. Billions of misspent dollars on this election. That's how much it costs a huge amount of money now to not become president. And if we're going to spend this amount of money in the future, and we are, that chicken has left its roost. Then I think we should get a little something back. The debates were pathetic. They ranged from boring to pathetic, and if we're going to spend that amount, I have a few ideas for some new debate rules, which I think could liven things up a bit. Rule number 1, every time a candidate says the American people, the other candidate has to take a shot. That's just an idea. It might loosen them up a little bit. Rule 2, there will be a 2-minute hot dog eating round. The winner gets an extra 10,000 votes. 3, if a candidate says Ronald Reagan 10 times in one debate, they get a free sandwich. And finally, halfway through the debate, a live chicken should be released onto the stage. The candidate who catches it wins Virginia. It's just an idea. It's just an idea. You are screwed as an empire. And it's mainly because of these things. You're fucked because of these. Let me give you an example. I appreciate the fact that no one is filming this on their cell phone right now. That's the new worst thing about doing any kind of gig. People will sit there saying, well, I want to enjoy this, but now is not good for me. Later would be better. Later and smaller would be more convenient for my hectic schedule, which does not allow for enjoyment at this time. You're screwed because you are filming yourselves and each other all the time, and you're uploading the results to the internet where they will be forever. Again, you don't seem to think that's a problem. Forever? That footage will be there. Because of cell phones, you are leaving way too much evidence for the rest of history of what you are actually like. No other empire has had this problem. I think there might be a point now where we need to make a decision, or a fork in the road, as to what to do with the internet, and whether it might just be better to bury it and hope that no one in the future finds it and discovers that unpleasant window into our soul. Let me give you some examples. I joined Twitter for the first time a few months ago, and never has stepping into the present felt like such an overwhelming defeat. I couldn't understand why I was so repelled by it. Now, when I was writing out my first tweet, I was thinking, why do I feel so disgusted by this in myself now? What is it about this that is bothering me so much? And seconds, literally seconds, after I sent my first tweet, I got a message back that just said, "You're terrible, go eat a bag of dicks." And it was the speed of the response that shocked me. The content was more or less what I was expecting. The speed, it was too quick for human sausage fingers to type that out, which made me realise that somewhere, for 6 years, someone had been waiting over their computer, saying, he will join, and when he does, I shall be there swift as the wind, and we shall settle this one-man war. Send, boom, I have to be first. He has to have felt that. The internet has destroyed curiosity. It used to be that there was no way of knowing what other people thought about you unless you asked them or guessed. Now that's gone with the Google sidebar. Before I came out here, I thought I'd test this. So I wrote John Oliver is into Google and let it auto-correct. That was a bad idea. Because these are the results. These are the 3 top results on Google. John Oliver is not funny. Result number 1. Number 1. Now, you might be laughing. Frankly, you are not the rest of the internet-owning world, and you have been outvoted. Result number 2, John Oliver is Jewish. Now, I'm not actually Jewish. I just like the look. But that's not the point. That's not the point, is it? I love what they've done with their facial features, and I've tried to emulate as much as I can since puberty. And it's gone remarkably well. That's how well it's gone. Remarkably well. Result number 3, John Oliver is a Smurf. Now, so that actually happens to be true, that one. Last year during the Smurf movie, I had 3 lines as Vanity Smurf. Hey, don't hate the player, City Winery, hate the game. That's right, Vanity Smurf, because still the sonic embodiment of narcissism is still the British accent. There are pockets of the internet that you aren't even aware of. Who here is aware of such a thing as slash fiction? Right, 2 people. Unfortunately, the rest of you are about to find out. And you cannot unhear what you are about to hear. Slash fiction is for fans of particular TV programmes like Dexter or CSI Miami or Game of Thrones, doesn't matter. And they imagine what the characters in those programmes will be like having sex with each other. It's basically pornography, literature pornography about existing television shows. It's niche, it's just in a corner of the internet. It doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. It's not hurting anyone, they can do what they like. It doesn't hurt anyone, it doesn't affect your life, does it? Until it does. Until it does. Because I'm here to tell you that there is such a thing as Daily Show slash fiction. How do I know this? Because I received an email from a friend of mine with a web link and a message that simply read, click on this, and then call me back immediately. And thus, I embarked on the strangest 45 minutes of my life. Page after page, story after story of Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert having sex with me. And they were nice stories, don't get the wrong idea. They were beautifully written. They were extremely romantic. It wasn't just the act, it was the build-up to the act. And I appreciated that. It was stories like in Soft Did Fall, the snow outside, smattering and building up upon the windowsill. Indoors, Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert were huddled around a fire, toasting marshmallows and gazing into each other's eyes. In walked the butler. Who could that be, I wonder? That is basically racist! Can I help you, gentleman? Said the butler. No, Mr. Oliver, but you can help us with this. Thud. And it went from there. It escalated quickly from there. Quickly. The point is this how you want to be remembered? No has to be the answer, but how do you want it? You can be remembered however you want. Because you're a people of faith. America is a nation of belief. 30% of the American people say that they've heard the voice of God. Now, it's not clear of that 30% how many people are mistaking the voice of God for the voice of Morgan Freeman. That's easily done. That's a mistake that we've all made at some point. What's that, God? The penguins went where? Show me, Lord. North, they went north. Lo, they did go north. They did march. How much are you a nation of belief? There was a documentary on the Discovery Channel, and there's a sentence that never ends well. On the Discovery Channel recently about mermaids, and it instilled the kind of panic that necessitated an official government response. There was an official statement from the US National Oceanographic Organization saying mermaids are not real. They had to release that because so many people were calling up in total panic at the mermaid-based worlds they didn't realise they were living in. That statement did not quell people. The US National Oceanographic Organization had to release a second one saying no open investigations into any issues regarding aquatic humanoids are happening at this time. Now, as a side note, if you have a job which involves you on a daily basis using the term aquatic humanoids, there is an 8-year-old version of yourself that would like to give you a hug. But that still didn't quell the panic, because there was a follow-up statement from the US Immigration Agency saying it is not our department's responsibility to determine whether or not mermaids actually exist. Trust the level of belief of people in this country to see a story about mermaids and instantly and instinctively make it an immigration issue. They come over here, swimming over here, eating our kelp. They should grow legs and learn to speak English, just like I had to. Point is, your legacy can be anything that you want it to be. You know, the Egyptians had pyramids. In Britain, we had the Magna Carta and human rights abuses. We were the best. We were the very best in our prime, the best at both of those things. But it's hard to know, isn't it, what the most American, what you would want your legacy to be. It's hard to pick a single thing that makes you feel it is pure Americana. I would throw one out there, and that would be the t-shirt cannon. Because the t-shirt cannon is the most pointless and simultaneously, once you've seen it, the most essential item I've ever seen. Let me tell you how much we love t-shirt cannons. People have died trying to catch the t-shirts. Right, at the Texas Rangers Stadium this year, someone fell from the top deck reaching for a t-shirt, and yet we still have t-shirt cannons. Almost as if collectively there was a response of, one death is not enough. One life is just not enough to take this level of fun. One is not in. I don't know the number, but one is not high enough. I know that. If it's not teacher cannons, maybe it's the things that you wish America had done, like the guy who jumped from space. Felix Baumgartner, he was Austrian, what a disappointment that was. An Austrian man doing the most American thing you can imagine. Going up to the edge of space for no discernible reason, and then jumping out of a pod. Also, nice try, Austria, you're still most famous for Hitler. Nice try. Nice try. Nice try, but it's going to take a lot more than a guy jumping from space to make us forget that little shit. If Mozart wasn't enough, he isn't either. It's still Hitler. Try again. Or it might be things that you don't even know you did. 3 weeks ago, it was revealed that in 1958, America had a plan to shoot the moon. So you didn't even know that you did this. Now, instinctively, your response correctly is, what? Hold on. Why is this the first time I'm hearing about this? And why is it still, why did we not do it? In 1958, of course, there was the Cold War emerging, there was, Sputnik had gone into space, there was very real concern that Russians were going to land on the moon first. And is there a more childish response to that than shooting the moon? Essentially saying to Russia, you can't land on something that doesn't exist. Kablowie. Get some moon, get some. Have a taste, stupid moon. And also, it was supposed to be a deterrent. It wasn't supposed to explode the moon. It was supposed to just make a flash visible from Earth on the moon's surface. And I think that would have worked as a deterrent. Because no one wants to get into a fight with someone who just shot the moon in the face. It's like getting into a bar fight with someone who's slamming their own head into the jukebox. No one wants to take arms against a maniac. Also, I do think it means that there is a necessary change of response to the legacy of President Eisenhower. Because Kennedy gets nothing but respect for his moon policies. We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon. Not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Whereas Eisenhower, years before that, was sitting in the Oval Office, looking up out of the window on a cloudless night, seeing the moon and dreaming to himself, I bet we can blow that shit up. He died just 4 months before Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, and what a tragedy. He did not live to see that, because I would love to have been sitting next to Eisenhower as he watched the television of those grainy pictures of Armstrong walking on the moon like we all did. I'd like to have said to him, President Eisenhower, what do you think of this? Because I'm confident he would have looked back and said, well, I still think it would have been cooler if we'd blown it up. And then died, let that be his last statement. I still think it would have been cooler if we'd blown it up, Eisenhower out. The truth is, there's no way to know. There's no possible way to know. There's no single thing that represented the most American moment in history, apart from the fact that there is, and there was, and it happened this year. The South Atlantic Baseball League held a home run derby in the spring on the deck of a warship, of an aircraft carrier. They hit home runs into the ocean from the deck of a warship. And they did it from an inflatable batting cage. Why inflatable, you may ask? Why did it need to be inflatable when it was already on something that could float? No reason, just because it's better that way. And if you have to ask, you will never understand. That was probably, you couldn't get it more American than that. So let's forget it, let's talk about something else. Because it couldn't have got more American than that, so let's not worry about it. Although, what happened to those baseballs, I wonder? They probably sank. Yeah, they probably sank. Or they floated out to sea. Let's talk about something else. Anyway. Or were they scooped up by volunteers on jet skis? Or did that fucking happen? Let's recap what we learnt. In spring, The South Atlantic Baseball League held a home run derby from the deck of a warship, hitting home runs from an inflatable batting cage, where the balls were picked up by volunteers on jet skis. I don't know why you're not already in tears, City Winery. Because that is not only the most American thing that I've ever heard of, it should technically be the new words to the American national anthem. Oh, say, can you see the home run I just hit from the deck of this ship, which is filled with explosives from an inflatable cage out into the sea. My ball, it did fly past a bunch of jet skis. Oh, say, is this the most American thing that has ever happened in the land of the free and the home of jet skis? You should be proud to be so ashamed of yourselves, America, and you should be ashamed to be so proud. Thanks very much. Good night.